It was the time of year when the leaves had turned golden red and the air was cooler. On an eerie night, 4 friends decided to take a daring midnight hike through the woods. They packed their bags with snacks, flashlights and blankets and set off into the unknown. As they walked through the forest, the trees began to close in around them, casting dark shadows on the ground. It wasn't long before they stumbled upon an old abandoned shack. The place looked like it had been deserted for years, and it sent shivers down their spines. But being the curious teenagers they were, they decided to break in and explore. As they entered the shack, they could smell a musty odour. The place was old, really old, and unkept. There was various types of potions, candles and books strewn around the room. The friends tried to make sense of it all, but before they could fully investigate, they heard a faint laughter coming from the shadows. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the darkness, and the friends froze in bewilderment. It was a witch with long red hair and piercing green eyes. She had a cauldron filled with bubbling brew, which sent a sickening feeling down to their stomachs. The witch started to cackle loudly, revealing that she had been waiting for them. The friends were petrified and tried to escape, but the witch blocked the door with a wave of her hand. With a wicked smile on her face, she said, Now, why are you in such a hurry? Let's have some fun." The witch then began to cast spells and hexes on the friends, causing them to scream in agonizing pain. The witch was powerful. She had been around for centuries, learning new spells and powers. They begged for mercy, but the witch just laughed and continued her evil rituals, until, one by one, they succumbed to her control, and she sucked the life force out of them, leaving them looking like mummies thousands of years old. The teens were obviously looked for, and the authorities searched for evidence, but they found none. The friends had vanished without a trace. The rumours of the forest being haunted by an evil witch with long red hair continued to spread for years. People became increasingly fearful of going near the forest, or even looking in its direction. The stories of the missing friends were still fresh in people's minds. Despite the fear and the rumours spreading about the forest, there were still those who were curious about what lay behind the thick foliage. There were stories of treasures and hidden secrets within the woods, tempting adventurers to take up the challenge and explore what was inside. One such adventurer was a man named Jack. He had grown up listening to stories of the forest being haunted by a wicked witch, and had always been fascinated by the idea. He was determined to uncover the truth and find out what really happened to the 4 friends that disappeared over a decade ago. Jack was an experienced hiker and explored many trails and mountains in his lifetime. However, he had never ventured into the forest before, and the thought of the encounter of the witch filled him with both excitement and dread. He spent several weeks preparing for his exploration. He studied maps and researched the history of the forest. He read about the witch's powers and how she can cast spells on her victims, leaving them trapped in a never-ending nightmare. So he would go to the library to learn more on how to defeat her if he did in fact encounter her in the woods. He learned everything about the dark arts and witchcraft, and he practiced a few spells himself. Finally, the day of his journey arrived. Jack packed his bags and he set off towards the forest. As he walked, he could hear the sounds of his heartbeat pounding in his ears. He started to scold himself for being so stupid and irrational on his idea to enter that place, but he pushed it aside, determined to see the forest for himself. As he entered the forest, he noticed a thick canopy above. The trees were tall, casting long shadows on the forest floor. He walked for hours, when suddenly he heard the sound of chanting ahead of him. He stopped in his tracks and listened carefully. The chanting grew louder and more distinct. As he approached the clearing, he peered through the trees and saw a group of people gathering around a small fire. They were dressed in robes and were all holding hands, swaying back and forth to the rhythm of the chanting. Jack watched in amazement as the group continued their ritual. He approached them slowly, trying not to disturb them. As he got closer, he could see that they were performing a spell. He recognized some of the words from the spell book he had been reading, and knew that it was a hex being cast on someone. He hid behind a tree and watched as the group completed their ritual. When they finished, they all shot off in different directions, disappearing into the shadows of the forest, with no trace that they were ever there. Jack was left alone in the clearing, wondering what he had just witnessed. He continued his journey deeper into the woods, keeping his wits about him. He was determined to find out the truth about the witch and what had really happened to the missing friends. But as he walked, he stumbled upon an old abandoned shack, the same one the teenagers had found. It looked like it had been abandoned for years, the vines and weeds growing all around it. Jack cautiously approached the shack, his heart racing with excitement and fear. He pushed open the door and stepped inside. The air was musty and stale. The cobwebs hung from the corners of the room. The furniture was covered in a thick layer of dust, and it was clear that no one had lived there for years. Jack searched the shack, hoping to find clues about the witch and the missing friends. He searched every nook and cranny but found nothing. Just as he was about to leave, he noticed a corner of the trapdoor not covered by a rug. He lifted the rug and opened the trapdoor. A set of stairs led down a dark, damp basement. Jack hesitated for a moment before descending down to the stairs, not knowing what he would find. As he reached the bottom of the stairs, he was met with a shocking sight. The room was filled with jars and vials of potions, each labelled with strange and mysterious names. There were cauldrons bubbling over open flames, and the books on the shelves were filled with dark magic and incantations. He felt a chill run down his spine as he realised for sure that he was in the witch's lair. He quickly searched through the books and jars, hoping to find something that would lead him to the missing friends. Finally, he found a book with a spell that matched the one that had seen the group of people chanting earlier. It was a spell that would allow him to see the past and witness the events that had happened years ago. Jack closed his eyes and cast the spell. Suddenly, he was transported back in time to the day when the four friends encountered the witch. He witnessed the past events unfold before him. He saw the friends approaching the witch's shack, eager to see if there was anything creepy inside. But when they entered the lair, the witch revealed her true intentions. She had been using them for her own twisted experiments, trying to create a potion that would grant her immortality. Jack watched in horror as the friends were subject to cruel experiments and torture. He saw their pain and suffering, and the life being sucked out of them. The witch transformed from an old, shriveled lady to a stunning, beautiful woman. But as the teenagers lay lifeless on the floor, the witch danced around the room in joy of her new beauty and youth she had just gained from her victims. Jack opened his teary eyes, absolutely shocked and disgusted at what he had just witnessed. He emerged from the basement determined to take on the witch and get revenge for the friends. He vowed to put an end to the witch's wicked schemes. So he made his way back to the village, where he asked his friend Tom to help him in his quest. Tom was a heck of a guy, captain of the local football team. He was huge and scared of nothing. So Jack taught Tom the knowledge he had learnt in the spell books and revealed his plan to beat the witch. Together they marched towards the witch's lair, ready to face whatever danger lay ahead. And as they arrived at the shack, they could hear the witch inside, her singing voice echoing through the forest. But Jack knew that he had the upper hand. Armed with the knowledge he had gained from the spell book, he had a plan to defeat the witch. The pair burst into the shack, surprising the witch and catching her off guard. They fought with her, using their weapons and spells they learnt to subdue her. Throughout their battle, they faced several obstacles, including dangerous spells and traps, illusions that threatened to confuse and distort them. She created fake versions of themselves or people they knew, and making them doubt their own senses. She used her magic to manipulate their emotions and thoughts, making it harder for them to focus on the task at hand and weakening their resolve. However, they eventually learned to see through the illusions and use their own skills to overcome them. They learned to recognise the patterns and clues that the witch left behind. They were able to anticipate and avoid her traps. She was formidable, but Jack and Tom remained determined to fight on, and in the end it was Jack who struck the final blow, shattering the witch's staff, breaking the spell that kept her beautiful. She fell to the floor in pain, screaming. Tom read out a spell and the boys watched in horror as she started to bubble and smoke, melting into a puddle of pink goo. The plan had worked, and it was a close call, but they both looked okay, with just scratches and bruises. But it was the damage not visible to the eye where the hurt was felt, from the arsenal of spells cast on them. Still, in the end they emerged victorious. The witch was defeated. They returned to the village as quiet heroes, and as the sun set on that fateful day, Jack knew that him and Tom would never be the same again. And he was right, both suffering from the repeating nightmares of that haunting night, and their minds never really healing. Thank you for watching Fear Tears. If you did enjoy the story, please leave a like and a comment. Thank you.